Hello, listeners. This is Kat, and welcome back to Put Your Hands Up Podfics. This will be the continuation of Little Acts of Kindness. This will be Part 23, Chapter 23, entitled The Finals, Round 1. Hey, everyone, are you ready? Mike's voice called out just about 5 minutes after Izuku had taken his seat, just as Cementos was finishing up making the stage and everyone had cleared off the field. You've been through hell to get here, but now it's time for the one-on-one tournament. This is the first match. First up, we have the Pink Whirlwind with the crazy tech from support, Hatsume. There was a cheer from the support section of the stadium. Izuku could swear he heard someone say something about not blowing up the stadium. Versus Ojiro Mashiro, the tailed fighter from Class 1A. The rules are simple. Win by knocking your opponent out of the ring, immobilizing them, or getting them to say I give up. Bring the pain. Anything goes. We've got our good old recovery girl on standby. And fight dirty if you must. Ethics have no meaning here. Well, of course, going for the kill is a no-no. You'll be disqualified because a true hero's fists only fly when in pursuit of villains. Ready? Start! Ojiro charged forward towards Hatsume, who leapt into the air hovering above with a jetpack. Hello, everybody, and please take a look at the effectiveness of my babies. Hey, she hijacked the speakers, Mike protested. With just my jetpack alone, I am now out of reach and can't be attacked. You did say anything goes, Aizawa dryly commented. As if she wasn't interrupted, Hatsume continued on. Of course, once in the air I still need to be able to attack, but I have several babies just for this purpose. If you want to capture someone without hurting them, I have this net launcher. Izuku watched, letting the recent events fall away into the back of his mind, with the rest of the similar memories. Hands moving as he started to analyze the fight. It was a good way to not let his attention stray and to keep focused on the here and now. Hatsume launched it, and Ojiro rolled out of the way towards the center of the platform. If you need to blind them, or render other senses useless, I also have this gun which has a different type of bomb in each chamber, including a smoke bomb, a flashbang, a dung bomb, pepper spray, and a bomb I affectionately call the numbness. With a click, she shoots the pepper spray, and Ojiro curses as he gets out of the center of the arena. Of course, there is always my electric chair grenade, guaranteed to knock out everyone in a 20-foot radius, she tearfully announced as she dropped the grenade into the center of the platform, and she flew up out of the range. Moments later, electricity arched out of the grenade and hit Ojiro, who jerked and spasmed and collapsed on the ground, knocked unconscious. Winner, Hatsume, Mike announced, and Izuku got the feeling that despite the cheerful tone, the man was pouting. There was a brief 5-minute pause to make sure the next kids were ready. Next up, we have Sero Hanta, the 1A kid who was always at the ready with a witty one-liner, versus Yaoyorozu Momo, the creation genius of 1A who has memorized thousands of atomic structures. The two combatants walked onto the stage, staring at each other. Start! And it looks like Yaoyorozu makes the first move by pulling out what looks to be a giant pair of scissors. Sarah spun around and walked out of bounds. For some reason, Midnight seemed to find this funny, as she bent over, clearly laughing, even if she currently had her mic turned off. Would you look at that? It seems that Sero has willingly walked out of bounds, giving up before even trying. Yaoyorozu wins. Yaoyorozu walked off and back into the tunnel. Izuku, knowing his round was after this next round, got up to go into the waiting rooms. What a strange first two fights, Mike announced after the 5-minute grace period had passed. Hopefully our next contestants are ready because we are moving right along. Up next we have Monoma Nato, the copycat of Class 1B, against Iida Tenya, the speed demon of Class 1A. Unable to see the fight, Izuku could only listen to Mike's commentary. Iida starts the fight with a fast dash towards Monoma, and oh, that looked like it hurt, as Iida punched into hard steel, and now Iida's forced to dodge from the glue Monoma is using. It was silent for a minute or so, and Izuku supposed that there wasn't any change in the fighting. He made it to the waiting room just as Aizawa's voice cut in. Monoma's used another quirk to make the ground unstable, making it hard for Iida to run. Looking at the TV, he watched the fight, seeing how sometimes the ground was almost shifting, and other times solid. When it was solid, it seemed that Monoma was using the glue, or if Iida managed to get close, the glue would stop and he was using the steel. It was obvious that Monoma could only use one quirk at a time, but still, he seemed to be able to switch between them quickly. Right! Oh! And it looks like Monoma finally tripped Iida up. He takes advantage of it and glues Iida to the ground. Can Iida get out? Midnight's voice took over. Iida is immobilized and unable to do anything. Monoma Nato wins! Another moment later, Izuku saw Monoma walk past. The boy looked at him and smirked. I made it to the next round. You better make it. Right, Izuku whispered in response. Monoma continued to look at him for a moment, then nodded and continued on. As the 5 minutes came to a close, Izuku went to the entrance of the stadium. All right, folks, it's time for our next match. The strategist of Class 1A, Midoriya Izuku. Heart pounding, he stepped out into the light, momentarily being deafened by the cheers. He took a deep breath, blocking out the noise of the people, ignoring how they were staring at him. He wanted to prove that he was worthy of being a hero. Aizawa and Mike both said they would be proud of him no matter what, but Izuku wanted to show them that he really was worthy of the faith they seemed to have in him. Versus the graceful Ashido Mina. Both of them seemed to truly like him and want to help. They wouldn't hurt him. He was going to do his best to win for them. He looked at Ashido, and the two bowed to each other when directed. Start! He charged forward using Erasure to stop her from using her acid as they entered hand-to-hand combat. Distantly, he could hear that Mike was making commentary, but he was too focused on his match to really hear what the teacher was saying. Ashido kept dancing out of his way, and Izuku had to blink as his eyes were starting to hurt from straining to keep them open. In that blink, she still didn't use her quirk for some reason, even though she should have known that it would be her best opportunity. He activated Erasure again, and the two continued trading blows. Eventually, he managed to kick her out of the ring. Midoriya Izuku wins! They bowed to each other and walked in opposite directions. Izuku entered into the hallway and tensed up as he saw Todoroki standing and glaring at his father, the number 2 hero Endeavor. My greatest creation! Todoroki growled, turning away. Is that all you gotta say to me? I'll win this with Mom's power alone. I'll never use your power in battle. The two had noticed him, but seemed to choose to ignore him while they spoke. That may be good enough while you're in school, but out in the real world, you need to use everything you have to be able to save people and surpass All Might. Endeavor shook his head but walked away, leaving Todoroki fuming. Izuku hesitantly crept past Todoroki, glared at him, but said nothing. Izuku eventually made his way past and returned to his seat, even as he heard Mike start his commentary. First up, we have the Icy Genius, the first-place winner of the first 2 events, Todoroki Shoda of the Hero Course, versus Shinso Hitoshi from General Studies, though he hasn't revealed much yet. Start! A moment later, and Izuku felt a chilly wind split seconds before an iceberg grew in front, blocking his and his other classmates' view of the fight. Whoa! Todoroki's made a giant iceberg, freezing Shinso in place. Isn't that overkill? Sero muttered, getting various noises of agreement from his classmates. Wait, what's going on? It looks like Todoroki is walking out of bounds, Mike announced, his voice confused. Shinso Hitoshi wins due to Todoroki walking out of bounds. A couple minutes passed, and the ice was melted. Izuku peered down and saw that Todoroki's expression was completely blank, the rage from earlier gone. Izuku watched the next fight, between Tokoyami and Shoda. He saw a dark shadow rush forward towards Shoda, who dodged out of the way. This went on for a little bit, Shoda not being able to get closer to Tokoyami. After a minute, Dark Shadow managed to catch on to a bit of Shoda's gym uniform and toss the boy out of the ring. And with a toss, Tokoyami wins! After another 5 minutes, the next announcement was made. A celebrity since his middle school days, with an attitude only a mother can tolerate, it's Bakugo Katsuki of the Hero Course. Midoriya distantly heard, Oi, that's a damn lie. I don't tolerate my brat's attitude. Looking over, he saw Mitsuki, shaking a fist. Versus Uraraka Ochako, the girl who will knock everything out of the ballpark. Start. It looks like Uraraka is leading with a charge. Oof, that looked like it hurt as Bakugo blasts her hard. Oh! Uraraka threw her jacket over and sent it floating, all on the fly. Bakugo fell for the decoy and Uraraka appears behind him, Mike said quickly with excitement as the events unfolded below. But Bakugo's reaction time is beyond believable as he knocked her away. Uraraka wastes no time. She's charging again. Again, another explosion rang. And then again, she once more charged. She keeps charging relentlessly, but this is... Mike trailed off. The crowd was muttering its disapproval. Izuku frowned at his classmates who were shouting at Uraraka to stop. Guys, look up. A group in the crowd has started booing Bakugo, Mike announced. His classmates listened to them, and there was a collective, ooh. Then they started cheering for Uraraka. Stop toying with the poor girl. And what the hell is wrong with these kids who are cheering for her? Is the one who said he's toying with her a pro? How many years of active duty? If that's what you're taking away from this, then you can leave. No point in watching. Go home and start looking at job hunting sites. At least my students know what to look for. Uraraka's come this far, and he knows her strength. His caution shows that he recognizes her as a worthy opponent. It's exactly because he wants to win so badly that there's no room for carelessness or holding back. It's not rational to hold back against someone who is of the same strength. At this point, Uraraka clasped her hands together, and Mike took this as his cue to continue. As Eraser said, maybe Bakugo didn't notice because he's so close, but the pros who were booing in the stands really should be ashamed of themselves for not noticing. Mike started, his tone condescending as he spoke of the pros in the stands. The rock started raining down. By charging in low every time, she kept Bakugo's attacks and attention focused on the ground. She used her own attacks in order to set up her own weapons, and he never realized. She set up a meteor shower. A deafening boom rang out, and Izuku felt a wave of heat burst out as Bakugo released one of the largest blasts Izuku has ever seen. What an explosion! Looks like Uraraka's secret plan just went up in smoke, and the two are once more charging at each other with Uraraka collapses. Midnight's voice takes over. Uraraka is unable to continue. Bakugo wins, Mike called out. Samantha stepped forward and started to repair the stage, which was fixed within a minute. A few more passed, and then Mike spoke up. It's time for the final fight of the first round. The flashy student of Class 1A, Aoyama Yuga, versus the tough-as-nails Kirishima Ojiro. Start. Aoyama's laser blasted, and Kirishima dodged as he charged forward. Looks like Kirishima's trying to get in close, but Aoyama's making this journey harder with the lasers. Kirishima takes advantage of the breaks and gets in close. Kirishima takes a strong blast from the laser, but it looks like his quirk protected him from most of the damage. Kirishima punches Aoyama square in the gut. Izuku saw Aoyama throw up, and the boy kept curled in on himself. Midnight's voice cut into the announcement. Aoyama has given up. Kirishima wins, Mike announced. There will be a short 15-minute break before the second round begins. People started getting up and moving to use the restroom or get snacks during the brief intermission. All right, listeners, this concludes Chapter 23 of Little Acts of Kindness. Chapter 24 will be up next, which will be the finals part 2. Eager to hear your thoughts and reactions to this one, and as always, thank you so much for listening.